So I've got a review for this documentary, Sound of the Surf, which is just arriving for me as a backer of this project on DVD. I assume this is going to hit digital platforms as well. But this is also a review of the Indiegogo campaign around this project and maybe evidence of how easily things can go sideways with a crowdfunding campaign. So one of the strangest things I've ever been involved with from a crowdfunding perspective. I first heard about this in, I want to say it was late 2020, and I was very excited about it because if you know me and you follow this channel, music in film history is my biggest passion. Learning about where these, as far as this project, the bands of the scene in the late 1950s into the early 1960s, this was the sound that really defined a place in time, regardless of whether or not you were in the Southern California area. With surf music, you could be. It brought that sound to you all across the world. And so even now, in Europe and in all over the world, that sound is still thriving and alive because of those bands at that time capturing that sound. And so this was a documentary that was supposed to tell that story. And I was very excited about it. I was very interested in it. And this was a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo that had multiple tiers. I think I want to say it was the $50 tier was the one that got you the hard copy. It got you the DVD and the bonuses, because the bonuses were a big deal because it was going to have all these extra interviews, the things that were cut from the documentary just for you, the backer. Peek behind the scenes, right? And then there was a $100 tier where you got a shirt with the Sound of the Surf logo, all this stuff. You could go even higher than that and get, like producer credits, all sorts of things. And in 2021, the director died. And it went silent for a while. And I think a lot of us were kind of wondering, what's going on with Sound of the Surf? And then we got an update, I believe it was from a producer, saying the filmmaker has passed away. So, and he was very transparent that this is not my project. I'll do my best to go through the material and see if I can put something together. Now, I kind of thought that the work was already done, that the cut of the film already existed and they just needed the music licenses. That's what we were paying for, I thought, was to clear the music licenses and get some distribution for this thing. But it sounded that wasn't necessarily the case from the way that this person was talking about it. So I'll try to put it all together. So as the months stretched into years, I actually asked if I could just cancel. Could I cancel my support of this and get my money back? Never got a reply. And then finally, it's coming out. Good news, it's going to be coming out. I finished the documentary. All of the pledge levels had become irrelevant. There is no shirt. I'm not wearing my Sound of the Surf shirt because it doesn't exist. I can tell you this too. So it's a burned on demand DVD, and this is the bonus disc. This DVD contains the bonus extended interviews. Okay, so this DVD, by the way, the documentary is 70 minutes. This is the same as this, but this disc. So this disc has the feature on it, right? The 70-minute feature. This also has the 70-minute feature and 30 minutes of extended interviews. Now they're pretty decent, right? We've got Dick Dale, Eddie Bertrand, and Kathy Marshall. Those are really the three principal interviewees for this project. So we've got, I think 12 minutes with Dick Dale. I think we've got 8 minutes with Eddie, and I think we've got, whatever the remainder of that is with Kathy. And it's interesting, of course, because after this project, both Dick Dale and Eddie Bertrand have passed away. So this is also a lot of people associated with this project are no longer with us. But it was just interesting to me, why would you not just make this the primary disc? It's the full thing. It's got the trailers at the beginning of the menu. They're identical, except this has extended interviews and this doesn't. I guess this was, the service to the people that did actually back it. But, and now that I've seen it, it's good for what it is. It could certainly be better. It does feel like it suffers from a lack of focus. And it is limited by the scope of the people that they talk to. This is not some exhaustive survey of the surf rock movement. This is really narrowing in on a few people that were there telling their story. And it is, of course, nice to have Dick Dale giving his perspective. Although, of course, you can find Dick Dale in a lot of different things because he talked about his involvement. He was, famous for telling his opinion about things. It's just, after all this, here's the thing, I'm not just weighing and I'm like, well, here's a documentary that's out. No, it's a documentary I paid $100 for and waited 5 years to get my hands on. And so the whole thing just feels a little bit disappointing. They talk about Gidget, they talk about the Beach Boys and how the Beach Boys were posers and they had kind of capitalized. Hey, capital. That was not an intentional pun, but let's go with the Capitol Records pun. They capitalized on that whole movement for fun and profit. And I don't know. It just and then it sort of talks about how the surf sound had sort of died out by 65, 66 really, and then the next thing folk rock comes along. It's kind of scattered. But it has to be scattered because the guy that put this together is that the filmmaker. The filmmaker died. So it's just bizarre. It's just a bizarre experience. So I don't know. I'm documenting this because there's no reason to keep talking about it. This is one of those films that it's distributed here by Vision Films. They do some pretty good stuff. They have a documentary about The Ventures, Stars and Guitars, which I have on disc. I love The Ventures. It's an interesting film in that it does try to tackle, they're a little cut rate. This is what I'm talking around because I feel guilty saying it, but these documentaries are a little cut rate. They don't quite pay off the way you want them to. They feel amateur. And it just feels like a missed opportunity. It's Thomas Duncan is the filmmaker and the director that has passed away. And the film does end with a sort of a rest in peace to Thomas Duncan. He does have director credit here. I don't know the full story of what happened behind the scenes, how this was assembled. I know that some of these guys have been gone for a long time and they're in the interview. So I think this may have been a labor of love for Mr. Duncan in over a decade probably. It seems like maybe he was working on this for a long time. It's just kind of a shame that it's not a better. It just feels like a missed opportunity, and what could have been, this celebratory thing about surf music. There's like the Surfragettes. I've seen the Surfragettes live. They are it's an all-girl surf group, and they are amazing. And they will melt your face off because it's so loud and so shredding. And they're not in here. Now I'm telling myself, well, they're not in here probably because they hadn't broken when this was being put together. It just feels incomplete in a lot of ways. It really does hammer down on about 3 different acts. And then they talk about, but the scene is still alive in Germany and in, Europe and all these places. If you get a chance to see this, if it pops up on streaming platforms, or I assume this is going to hit digital platforms as well. If it's in HD, I'm going to be a little upset if there's an HD version floating around, because this could have been a Blu-ray for the backers, but it's not. It's a burned on-demand disc. I don't know. I'm a little bitter is not the right word. I'm disappointed. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. But it is also a cautionary tale that when you put that money down on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or one of these campaigns, you don't know what you're going to get at the end of that thing. You're going on the promise of what the people tell you. They don't know what's going to happen either. It is a risk. It is always a risk, and maybe this was my cautionary tale. Sound of the Surf, if you've seen it, let's continue the conversation in the comments below, or we could just continue the conversation about surf music. What's your favorite surf band, surf group, surf act? Do you have a favorite period, like that late 50s stuff where it was kind of coming out of that that country western thing? I'm thinking of there's a version of Ghost Riders in the Sky that is just wild. Is it the Ramrods? There's so much to talk about with this genre, more than this documentary gets into. So let's continue the conversation. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Take care. Till next time, I will catch you later.